we te tangi te haku ki a rātou mā kua poroporo a ki tia e te karanga uru a tea ngā mate o te wā hara mai haere. Tātou kei te pito ora, ti he wa mauri ora, and welcome back to the Hui, where, as you can see tonight, we are broadcasting live from Takapūwāhia Marae in Porirua, the penultimate night of the Hīkoi mō te Tiriti. This began just a week ago at dawn on Monday at Te Ringa Wairua. And tomorrow, tens of thousands will march through downtown Wellington City, making their way eventually to Parliament. Tonight, we begin with a story from our reporter, Leighton Hīkoi, who talks us through the journey of the Hīkoi mō te Tiriti.
It started before dawn. A karakia rung out amongst the mist of Te Ringa Wairua, the very top of Aotearoa, a spiritual place for Māori. It's from here they set off.
It's an opportunity for Māori to let everybody know we're alive and well.
We haven't been heard, and we're here for the next generation.
With the wairua of those that have gone before.
This is what our ancestors would have wanted.
Fight the good fight so that we can live inclusively.
For over a week, Hīkoi mō te Tiriti has travelled the motu.
This is our chance to send a message to this government that it stops now, or we push it to a point where they're going to need to have a snap election.
Gaining numbers and momentum as it moves south.
This is actually for the people, not for the government, for the people. And at the end of the day, it's for our future.
On day 3, they arrived in Tāmaki Makaurau and crossed the Auckland Harbour Bridge.
How special is this day for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely for Māori and everybody else in Aotearoa that believes in our Tiriti.
What brings you here today?
Sorry, just got a bit emotional. It's just so special, and I think we should all be fighting for it.
The power of the people causing the bridge to sway with every step.
Oh, I'll never forget this day ever.
It's all about tino rangatiratanga. It's not about having control over everyone, but having control over ourselves and our own destinies.
The Hīkoi has a purpose, a point, fighting back against the government's policies impacting Māori.
They've got a blitzkrieg of legislation, got a flood of it trying to overwhelm us so that we can't cope.
In particular, David Seymour's Treaty Principles Bill.
They got a right to protest, and I wish them sunny days and safe travels.
You can't rewrite something that you don't understand. You can't rewrite something that you can't read.
A bill that even the Prime Minister doesn't support.
We do not like this bill. We will not be supporting it. We see no need for it because we think it is divisive.
Nevertheless, the bill will go to Select Committee after passing its first reading in the House.
But not
without incident.
The only reason this parliament exists in Aotearoa is because our tipuna consented to it.
He is using and abusing democracy against my people, against your people. How dare you, David Seymour?
Māori voices heard loud and clear inside the halls of power. And tomorrow they'll be heard outside too, as Hīkoi mō te Tiriti marches onto Parliament.
Hoki mai anō e ngai iwi. As you can see, many are here at Takapūwāhia Marae tonight in preparation for the final part of the Hīkoi going to Parliament tomorrow. And joining me now is one of the organisers for the Hīkoi and the man that called on the next generation to stand up. Joining me now is Nais Manuel and Hone Harawira, repping his Taiao merch. Tēnā kōrua.
Tēnā kōrua.
Can I just say it's a coincidence you're both in Ngāpō here, okay? It's just a coincidence, all right? Let's get into it, Nais. Your reflection on the last week, reflections of the last week of the Hīkoi as one of its main organisers.
Overwhelming is the word that hits me the most. Driving through each town, seeing everybody supporting the kaupapa of Toi Tui Te Tiriti, me he whakaputanga. Incredible. Tangata Tiriti, tangata whenua, tangata moana, everybody in Aotearoa have stood up, and very proud.
Were you surprised by the reaction? Because some of those activations were massive.
Huge. I was surprised, to be honest. But when you work hard and you push hard, and you're pushed hard on, that's the result you're going to get. So, yeah, just very proud to be where we are today.
Well, you put the call out. You asked the next generation to stand up.
Yeah.
Have they done what you've asked them to do?
Oh, look, all I asked them to do was stand up. The leadership and what's come out of this whole thing is all about them. You know, I mean, I have to say a lot of us OGs were sitting back with our fingers crossed and going, geez, you better not play. But yeah, hugely impressed with the quality of the leadership, the positivity they bring to everything that they do. They're nowhere near as aggressive as we were in our days, but they are getting through to the next generations as well in ways we couldn't. If we tried to run this, we'd be doing it at a level which did not necessarily connect with all of the new generations. These ones are part of that. And I'm hoping tomorrow that when tō tātou kuini Māori, ngā wai hono i te pō, joins us, and hopefully, I have to say our girl, he kōtiro tunu te hana, the world's most well-known parliamentarian at the moment. If they come to join us, that will just close that link on that generation, assuming real strong leadership of things to come.
Nice, I want to talk about tomorrow. Can you talk us through how it's going to go and what you want to see tomorrow and the build-up to the march to Parliament?
Yeah, absolutely. How it's going to go is how we've been going the whole way down. We've stuck true to our formations, the leadership. I think it's going to come together really, really well, Jules. We've got, you know, like ngā waihono i te pō joining, hana, our entire country, to be quite honest, will be there, and I think we're going to turn it on. And as we've said before, we're not stopping at Parliament, we're walking past Parliament, and we're going to put the show on tomorrow like no one's ever seen before, get the messages across to where they need to be, and we're here because of our Tiriti and our people and everything else that is happening to our people.
Do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions about what I've heard might happen tomorrow? I've heard that there's been calls, Hīkoi, from certain politicians, the Prime Minister being one, David Seymour, responsible for the Treaty Principles Bill, another, who had said that they are open to meeting with Hīkoi organisers, or indeed, in the case of David Seymour, open to speaking tomorrow. Is that going to happen?
We don't want to hear what he has to say. He said it already. So, you know, it's an outright attack on our people. So why do we want to listen to him? We're there for us. We're there for us. And that's all we're there for. We're not there for him. They've already done enough damage to our people and our nation, whether they be tangata tiriti or tangata whenua. It's not good, so we don't want to hear his rhetoric coming out.
Hone, when you hear things like that, where he's open to speaking and meeting, and the Prime Minister saying he's open to meeting as well, what do you think when you hear that?
Mate, he's going to have 50,000 people there. It's the biggest crowd he's ever had. That's the only reason he wants to talk. He doesn't want to share with us. He just wants to tell us, I'm going to kick you in the teeth. And I'm glad you gave me a camera to say so. So I'm hoping he doesn't get the chance to speak tomorrow. There's nothing he could say to us that we haven't already heard. So tōtoko, ka whānau anoki e te whakaaro. This isn't just about going to Parliament and then going home. It's about going to Parliament and moving on, bringing it back to a concert at Waitangi Park, making our people realise that the march is just not to Parliament. It's about dropping a message there, moving on and moving forward.
Nice, what is your message to Māoridom? I mean, they've listened. Not just Māoridom, actually, everyone who is going to attend the Hīkoi tomorrow. What is your final message to them tonight, the last night, before the march, before the Hīkoi āpōpō?
Remember who we are. Remember who we are. No, kingitanga, kingituheitia, he said it. Waka kōtahi tātou, kōtahitanga. And I tell you what, an environment like we are in right now, politically, it is the only cure. It's the power of the people. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. And we don't need to be violent to do that. That's not us. That's them making us to be like that.
And it's been incident-free the whole time. I know there was talk of, you know, this and that happening and calls on police and whatever. None of that has happened.
None of that at all.
Yeah.
We've actually enjoyed the space, Jules, and really created some good memories. met some good people, and we've got brother and sisterhoods that will last for a lifetime.
Hone harawira, what is your message to those watching tonight before the final step tomorrow?
Hoi hei whakakaore te i tērā o ngā kōrero tō tātou kēngi. Be Māori, be Māori, be Māori. Kia tū Māori, tū te ao, tū te pō. It's more important that we build a nation. The last Hīkoi 2004, we built a party. Let this Hīkoi have as its outcome the building of a nation.
Hone harawira, Nais Manuel, tēnā kōrua. Nais in particular, this is the first time she's done a media interview throughout the whole Hīkoi. Nō reira, tēnā kōrua. Thank you for coming back from Wellington tonight to be with us live. Ngā mihi nui kia kōrua.
Ngā mihi tū.
Kia ora maira. Kia ita tunu maira e te iwi. After this, our panel of experts, our mātanga kōrero, we have Professor Ella Henry, and we also have Piripi Awiniata here with us tonight. Stay with us. The Hui will be back live from Takapūwāhia Marae and Porirua after this. Hoki tunu maira e ngā iwi, ko te hui tēnei, e haka pāho tika atuana kia koutou katoa I te marae o Takapūwāhia, ara I Porirua, no maira, welcome back. As I said, we are here at Takapūwāhia Marae. Can you see all the tamariki over here? I mean, it's plain touch on the marae in anticipation for the last step tomorrow. And joining us now, as I said, is our panel of experts. She is, of course, a professor at the Business School of Auckland University of Technology. And he, of course, is the director of Kawea Law and Consultancy. So please welcome Professor Ella Henry and Piripi Awiniata. So tēnā kōrua.
Ai, kia ora.
No maira. Lots to talk about, so let's get into it. Ahorangi, what have you seen? What have you felt over the last week, knowing, as I know, and as many people know, of your experience and expertise in Māori activation?
It's impossible to ignore the flow of ihi and wehi that is happening, and not just amongst our Māori, but against tangata tiriti, tangata whenua, tangata moana. This is a coming together that is unprecedented in the last 20 years, in my view, and it is a powerful force for change.
Piripi?
Tai mai te kaupapa ki rota iau ki kahungunu, I te rāhoroi, a tāhua, you know, it's hard to articulate just how beautiful it was, but with that many people, you could feel like something could get away from you, but it never felt like that. It felt really grounded, really well organised. The mātāpono were coming through really strong. It was about kotahitanga. Everyone was standing shoulder to shoulder. Everyone was there pushing messages of hope, you know, of a better tomorrow through partnership, through unity, and that it was really, ia tāhua.
Are you surprised by that? Because, you know, foundationally, this is a reaction to what many people would call something quite negative in terms of the Treaty Principles Bill, that many people have talked about. This isn't me saying it. Many people have made mention of that. And yet, as Piripi has said, Ahorangi, there are some incredibly positive things that have been mentioned and communicated throughout the whole week.
We have a very long history, I think, over the last 184 years of being activated when necessary. Back in the 19th century, that included occasional warfare and much more intense struggles. But you know what? When you poke the taniwha, you reap what you sow. And this government and the legislation that they are forcing upon us has poked the taniwha, and it has made us come together in a way that we have not done for a long time.
Can I ask you a political question? Do you think that the National Party and the national government part of the coalition government has lost the agenda in allowing this bill to be put to, yes, first reading and eventually to second reading?
I personally think that they've been held to ransom by the coalition and the extreme demands of their coalition partners, and this does not serve them well, and I think the polls are saying that. And the fact that so many tens of thousands of not just Māori but New Zealanders are outraged by these changes means that they're going to have to think very carefully how they move forward.
Yeah, and speaking of moving forward, Piripi, I mean, Hone Harawira said for the next generation to stand up. What I've noticed is a lot of rangatahi. Ko tōku tauhaka tupuranga tērā, te arahi mai nei a tātou.
Ko te ātāhua e tukuna ana, hei arahi te iwi. And what I've seen in, you know, all of these videos and the own activation in Hastings is a willingness of Pakeke to put rangatahi forward in that moment, and it's been really powerful. That, you know, that idea that this is a response, I think, is something that our rangatira in this movement and our rangatahi as well have managed to dispel it. They've really taken ownership of the narrative and said it's not about that bill, it's about something bigger than that. It's about ourselves, you know, it's an activation for ourselves to grow and remind us of our power, of our own self-determination, our own ability to lead a narrative onto Tiriti or Waitangi, because you have someone out there who's saying they want to have a conversation, but the starting point for that conversation isn't a fair starting point. Yeah. Taking control of that narrative is bringing people with us on this movement and saying, hey, if you understand what's really happening here, you'll see the unfairness in that bill, and you'll see why you want to walk alongside us and be a part of this movement.
Yeah, and that's happened. Happened.
Absolutely.
Ahorangi, I want to talk about what next. So yes, we hear between 30, some saying over 50,000 people will be a part of the Hīkoi tomorrow. Ahorangi, what happens after that? What do you want to see happen after that?
What I'm seeing and what I'm most proud of is rangatahi coming to the fore and taking control, as you said, of the narrative, the activation, and my job is to stand behind and be, you know, a kai tautoko. Our time is the past, and we did not succeed at everything, and maybe this next generation won't succeed at everything, but they will move the boundary. I do not live in the same country I was born in, and I am very pleased about that.
But politically, though, what do you think politically should happen next? I mean, I know David Seymour's been very clear. This is not the end.
No.
The second reading won't be the end.
Well, clearly, New Zealanders of all ilk are going to have to say at the next election what they think about this coalition. And my view is, at this point in time, with the feedback I'm receiving all around the motu, that this particular government is on shaky ground. So politically, what it means is that the opposition parties have to sit down and be very strategic. If they really want to take this coalition government to the extreme, then they're going to have to be strategic. They're going to have to work with te iwi katoa, and they're going to have to think about what their policies are and how we address what has happened in the last year.
Piripi, I want to ask the same thing. And, you know, obviously you spoke on behalf of Te Hunga Rangatau at the first Hui ko Taitanga Kōpai ki Itu Heiti of January this year. Have the expectations that you and the Kāhui Rangatau set out at that hui, have they been met, and what else do you want to see happen?
I'm worried that I'm at the outer edge of rangatahi now.
You're more adjacent than some of us, brother, I have to say.
Yes, you know, part of that was about taking control of the narrative around where the power really resides, and a big message was march to Pōneke, but don't stop there, you know. March back to your marae, march down to your kohanga reo, take your babies there, march to Kura, put your kids in there, turn up to your AGM. You know, that was a real of where the power lies and how we perceive our own ability to express self-determination. The challenge for us is to continue this momentum and to help, you know, particularly our rangatahi see that tomorrow isn't the end of the activation. It's just the end of this first phase of it, and it grows into something bigger than that. around how we take ownership of the constitutional conversation in Aotearoa, because David Seymour says he wants to have a conversation. That conversation's been going on for hundreds of years. Our people have been having that conversation. No one wanted to turn up. He's opened the door, but in a really weird place where no one's been talking.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's about how we keep ownership of this conversation. It's been happening. It will continue to happen.
So you're saying, so whilst David Seymour says this is not the end, you're saying exactly the same thing.
Yeah, except our end, it's been going for 1,000 years.
Okay.
Asserting, and it will go for 1,000 more, you know. Yeah.
Tēnā koe. E taku ahaurangi, e te hoa piripi, tēnā kōrua. Thank you both very much for joining us live here at Takapūwāhia Marae.
Ngā mihi.
Ngā mihi nui kia kōrua. Join us, stay with us at Tiwi Tarakau I Hoana. Ko te māngai, rei te mea ko te māngai, hoia te tahi o ngā tumu o Ngāti Toa Rangatira. Joining us next after this is Helmut Modlik to talk about what else should happen next. Kia ito tunu mai. No hoki mai e hoa mai, whakapahoaro rangi atu ana mātou kia koutou katoa I te marae o Takapūwāhia. And who better to join us now than the CEO of Te Rūnanga o Toa Rangatira. Given we're at Takapūwāhia Marae and Porirua, joining us now is Helmut Modlik. Te rangatira Helmut, tēnā. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. A great pleasure.
Do you mind if I ask you, you're speaking tomorrow? Once the Hīkoi makes its way to Parliament, what are you going to say?
Look, the kaupapa speaks for itself. Everybody that's coming to Pōneke is coming to show our determination to ensure that Te Tiriti o Waitangi is honoured moving forward. And I will be speaking on that kaupapa and offering up some thoughts on how to achieve it directly ourselves, but also to bring to bear the strength of our unity on the kāwanatanga. So that's what I'll speak to.
So this is talking about the what next?
Yes, yes.
What is the what next? What does that look like for you?
As important as the Hīkoi is as a moment in time to demonstrate our unified strength, it's my view that it's actually also an inflection point, a line in the sand, if you will, where our people going forward will never again accept the kind of unilateralism that is played out from this coalition generally, let alone in connection with something so fundamentally important to us all as Te Tiriti o Waitangi. So what happens next? All through this year, our people have a hui to determine the extent and depth of our determination to unite. And all that remains for us is to figure out how to give effect to that, because the wairua of that kotahitanga has now been clearly established. So what comes next will be the establishment of some new, we'll call them new arrangements, new institutional arrangements, he whare o te rangatiratanga. That will be a mechanism for the motu when we have a kaupapa that requires our nationwide unity. That will be the mechanism for us to give effect to it. So that's going to happen next. The other thing that's going to happen next, undoubtedly, is, you know, our young people have, this hīkoi came from our young people. Beautiful, fierce, wonderful young people. This has turned a corner for this new generation, the new generation of leadership, where at home, in the whānau, hapus and maraes around the motu, we will see a strengthening of rangatiratanga in local communities like never before. So when you combine those two thoughts, a strengthened rangatiratanga being exhibited back in the haukainga, and we've created a mechanism for those rangatiratanga parties to come together, well, that is what is going to happen next, which will change the game.
Can I ask you, who leads that? Now, I saw Queen Ngā Waihono i te pō, through her spokesperson, Ngira Simmons, say that ko rite te Queen Māori, ki te āwhina i ngā mahi hei ārahi, you know, to help lead those conversations. Is that where the next step is, in terms of calling for that next action that you're talking about now?
So we would welcome the Queen to issue that karanga for us to, you know, return to Tūranga Waiwai, to conclude the annual cycle of Huia Motu, and to stand up our new whare o te rangatiratanga. We would welcome that from Ngā Waihono te pō. But in terms of who are our leaders, you know, seriously, we have a distributed community, and the leadership exists in the distributed communities that are around the motu.
This is the rangatiratanga at all levels that you are talking about. Whānau, hapu, iwi, Māori, whānui, Aotearoa whānui.
That's right.
Do you think the politicians will take that seriously?
Well,
because I know we've
have no choice, and I'll tell you why. Here's what's going to happen. So once our whare o te rangatiratanga stood up, and we convene and we kōrero. If I have anything to do with it, the first taka that will be put on the table is to kōrero back to the kāwanatanga to come back to the table, to stop their unilateral neo-colonial nonsense that we've watched this last year, instead to re-engage with us in a respectful, mutually man-enhancing way, resume the path of truth and reconciliation we've been on. Now they'll either say no, or they'll say yes and act no, right? That's what will happen.
Okay.
And when they do that, that was when our people, through the mechanism of our whare o te rangatiratanga, will flex and demonstrate to the kāwanatanga, no, times have changed. This is not like before. And
they won't be able to hold that momentum. Okay.
They will not. And we'll keep flexing until they get the message and come back to the table.
Hama tēnā koe. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us on the marae again tonight. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, very well.
Ngā mihi nui kia koe. It was, of course, Helmut Modlik, the CEO of Te Rūnanga o Toa Rangatira. And that is us. Kua pai ngā kōrero katoa a tātātou hui ki konei I tēnei wiki. Thank you for joining us in Porirua here at Takapūwāhia Marae. You can hear rangatai singing in preparation for the Hīkoi tomorrow. There's a band that's going to start in 5 minutes. They generously held off until we finish the show tonight. Join us next week. We will be back in the studio on Tāmaki Makaurau. And then the week after is our last show on December the 2nd. E te iwi, kia mau, ki te tūranga o Taputipo Atea haumi e, hui e, taiki e.
te take.
Nā te puna whakatongarewa, te hui, i tautoko.